Good evening, brethren. As you guys remember, we had pretty much two books last week, meaning two translations. So I may go back and forth. I will start from the one that we read last. So if we see anything strange or whatever, we'll go to the other one to see the other translation. So I'll begin with chapter 7 of the book of Hanoch, which on the other translation is chapter 6. Just so you guys know, just in case. And actually, the fact that on like in the other translation is the 6th chapter is interesting because it goes along with the 6th chapter of Genesis, as we are about to see. So I begin with the first verse, and it says, "It happened after the sons of Adam." You see, this is one of the interesting things that if some do not understand what the names mean and stuff like that, may get confused. For it would be translated as they say it here, dirt man. For Adam came from the Adamah. Adamah is the soil. So Adamah, if you take the last letter, which is what makes it feminine, if you take it out, then you have a masculine name, which is Adam, because he was made from the soil. So it happened after the sons of Adam, or the man made from the soil. It happened after the sons of Adam had multiplied in those days that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. Elegant and beautiful. And when the watchers, the sons of heaven, looked at them, they became enamored of them, saying to each other. So they actually, this was like this. This is the verse in which they should have used the most common term that people use for when they get to love someone. They say they fell in love. In fact, that term, that saying comes from this story, because the watchers fell from heaven because of the women. So to fall in love comes from the fact that angels fell because of women. So this was the moment to have used it. They fell in love. If we go to Genesis 6, or Bereshit chapter 6, let me share it real quick. Here it says, "And it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them." And let me put the parallel. So here it says, "And it happened when Adam, or the Adam, began to multiply on the face of the Adamah." So look how here it says Ha-Adam. So it doesn't mean Adam, the first man, it means the men, so humans. That's why it has the article here, the hey, Ha-Adam. So men, pretty much. Just like we are reading in Hanoch, same term, pretty much the same verse, however translated by somebody else, so it sounds a bit different. To multiply on the face of the Adamah, Ha-Adamah. So here we have the word Adamah, which is soil, the land. Adamah, here's the same article, so that's why I'm not selecting it. Adamah, as you can see, if you take out the last letter, then you have Adam. The only difference is that the mem is written a bit different, because here is at the end in Adam, and here is still at the middle of the word, so it has this opening. So here you see the relation between Ha-Adam, Ha-Adamah, and daughters were born to them. and daughters were born to them. And they saw, this is very important, and I'm just reading it straight from the Hebrew. And they saw the sons of Elohim. In fact, it doesn't say the sons of Elohim, it says the sons of the Elohim. So just like when it says here Ha-Adam, it doesn't mean Adam, the first. It means men in general. Here, it doesn't say Elohim, it says Ha-Elohim. So a certain one, not the original one, not the true one. This is very important to understand because most people get confused and think that the angels are the sons of Yahweh. Yet that's not what it says here. Here it says the sons of Elohim. And remember that Elohim is a term that is also used for angels. And the fact that it's saying Bene Ha-Elohim is even proven that it's talking about sons of a certain angel. That certain angel is the first angel to have been created, just like Adam is the first man to have been created, but now several of them have multiplied and got daughters. Now, Yahweh created one malach, and from him came several, which are called Bene Ha-Elohim, the sons of the Elohim, a certain Elohim, that first angel. So all angels from the second heaven are sons of a malach, a first malach from the second heaven, whose name was Ariel and became Samael. This is important to understand. And another thing that I wanted to show from here or mention is that a lot of people get confused when it comes to what Mashiach said to certain part of the Jewish people that didn't believe in the resurrection. They asked Mashiach, what would happen if a man died without children after having been married, and then because of the law in Deuteronomy, his brother marries his widow, and then he dies without children also, and then that happens with the rest of their brethren, and there were 7 brothers. So Yahushua tells them that they don't understand really the next world, and that's why they get confused with resurrection. And Yahushua says that we will be like the malachim, like the angels. We won't be given in marriage, like in this reality. In this reality, we are separated in 2 bodies, because in this reality, everything is separated in 2s. That's why it was created with the letter bet, which is the numerical value 2. So right and left, up and down, men and women, etc., etc. So the fact that Mashiach said that we will be like the malachim and we won't be given in marriage doesn't mean that we won't be able to multiply. But that's how a lot of people take it. They think that since there won't be any marriage, there won't be any multiplication. However, if that were so, Bnei Elohim would be a wrong term, because there wouldn't be any sons of the angels. Angels would not be able to have children, if that was what Mashiach was saying. But Mashiach was saying regarding getting together with somebody else, because in that moment, everything will be one. So whatever complements you will be one with you already. So you won't need anything outside of you in order to multiply. You will be able to multiply on your own. Just like a tree gives fruit, a person will be able to multiply, just like an angel was able to multiply and create all those angels, of which the watchers were some, and these are the ones being mentioned here. In Hanoch, they are called the watchers, for they were in charge of watching humans, and that's why they fell in love with women. But here they are simply called Bene Elohim, Bene Ha-Elohim. So they were the children of one angel. That is also important because, I repeat, the scripture never says that angels are children of Yahweh. They are creations. But in the book of John, we read something very important. So I'm going to take the time to read it for a moment. In John chapter 1, verse 11 and 12, he came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as receive him, to them he gave the authority to become, here, this translation, has an issue, but it doesn't matter. He gave the authority to become children of Yahweh. To those believing in his name, to those believing in his name. Let me look real quick at another translation. And the issue with that one is just that they are, I feel kind of afraid to write the name Yahweh. So when like they try to always write Elohim, even when sometimes Yahweh was the one there, which fits better the whole context. So in John 1:12, but as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of Yahweh, to those who believe in his name. So the only ones to whom Yahweh gave the honor, the privilege to become children of his, children of Yahweh, are those who believe in his name. To those believing in his name. That is extremely important. Yet most people say his name doesn't matter. So it does, because it is only through his name that one can become his child. Because a child knows the name of his father. And no matter what other people call him, the child knows who his father is. And he would go and correct those other people who are saying that his father has another name or is called whatever they want to call him. Any child who loves their father would correct other people, yet people get angry, mainly because they don't like to be corrected. Like I said, mainly because what I just explained regarding children of Elohim is a term used regarding, like, to talk about the angels. But through Yahushua, we become sons of Yahweh. So here it should say to become children of Yahweh, because children of Elohim are the angels, I repeat. Hope that's understood. And never in scriptures, angels are called the children of Yahweh, as we become through Yahushua, which is something that in turn the Malachim kind of envy from humans. And that's why certain part of the Malachim rebelled against the Almighty and his plan to make us his children and fight against us, while others instead prefer to become humans and accept Mashiach in order to be children of Yahweh also. So, as I was seeing in the Hebrew, and they saw the sons of Elohim, the daughters of men, that they were tobot, which means they were good. And they normally write beautiful, but there is a Hebrew term for beautiful. Tov means good, as in with a purpose. So the point in reality is not that they fell in love with the physical beauty of females, for that is something that was created for men to feel attracted to. But angels fell in love with the idea of being able to have children in this reality through the use of a female body, which had the capacity to create a new body. So the Malachim wanted to have children in this reality. They were kind of jealous of Yahweh's plan. So they said, let's use women, for they are good for this purpose. Just like when Yahweh said that everything was good, was in terms of purpose. Everything in reality has a purpose. So they saw that women had the ability to create bodies during pregnancy. So they put their seeds in women in order to have children in this reality. So that they were good, and behold, they took them for themselves. It says they took for themselves women from all that they chose. So the sons of Elohim, so the daughters of men, they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, my ruach shall not strive with men forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. So this has two meanings, and we're about to go back to Hanok. I know that's the one we're reading. The 121, the 120 years. Well, actually, several meanings. I'm going to give three. One, that from then until the flood, there would be 120 years, time in which Noah would preach and build an ark. And there is something important to understand there, and I have been thinking about that for the last couple of weeks, perhaps, because a lot of people in our congregation tend to feel bad. Like, it is very common that I receive emails or comments or questions regarding how they can deal with rejection from their peers, from their family members, when it comes to their beliefs in scriptures, in the Most High, in his name, in the name of the Son, and the importance of it. And they suffer a lot because not everybody believes what they believe. However, they forget, I guess, that in the time of Noah, and Yahweh said that the days of the Son of Man would be like the days of Noah. And in the time of Noah, only Noah in the whole world believed. Only Noah. And of course, his family were subjected to him and were more obedient than children nowadays. So that's why his family was included. But only Noah, only his house believed in the true creator. Only they believed in the end that was coming. Only they prepared. And to everybody else, for 120 years, they were crazy because they were building a boat in the middle of the land. And because of what Noah was saying. So imagine if Noah would have said, nobody believes me, I should stop. Nobody believes me, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe the ark was just a bad dream. However, he had faith. And one of the things that he also had was a perfect body in the sense of genetics. He had not been changed by what the Malachim came to do, because they not only put their seed in women to create children, which became giants, but they also created hybrids, and they started to mess around with human DNA, which is what they are doing right now, also with the injections. And that is part of what that also is bringing division in homes, because some are for it and others against it. But that is part of the days of Noah. So we must remember that. Stay firm in our belief, because we know what happened with Noah. So it is better to be alone in our belief in the true mighty one and what is coming than with a bunch of people with the flood coming. So 120 years for Noah, only he believed. He preached for 120 years. Only he believed. So a lot of people would say that he was a bad preacher. A lot of people would say, oh, he didn't have a big church, as they speak. So that was a bad belief. That was a bad doctrine, because only Noah and his three children believed. And one of his children wasn't that good either, as we know, right? Come. So he was there because Yahweh is merciful, and because he also had part in the time afterwards. So that is something that we must remember. Noah, the days of the Son of Man would be like the days of Noah. Noah was alone in his belief. Noah was pure genetically, not only spiritually, just like we are through Yahushua, and we must be kept also genetically when it comes to not taking that injection. And hopefully we won't be blocked for that. So my spirit shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. So 120 years till Noah. Then he was saying, Yahweh was telling us that from Adam till the end of all flesh would be 120 jubilees, 6,000 years. And also was saying that people will no longer get to live to like 1,000 years like they used to before the flood, 900 and something. They would go down all the way to 120 years, because when they lived for 1,000 years and food was everywhere, they had too much time to do evil. Plus, when they received all the information to do more evil from the angels, then it was way too much. So Yahweh had to stop it and bring the age down, bring more work, less food, and all of that, so that people may remain occupied, so that they may not be well, even though it has been happening still, but they don't become such an easy prey for the enemy. So just one more verse. The Nephilim, which as you can see is a Hebrew word, and well, it's right here for Hanephilim, which comes from Nafal, which is to fall. So the fallen were on the earth on those days, and also afterwards, which is important because a lot of people believe that giants were only on earth before the flood and they were all destroyed. However, it says here on those days and also afterwards, after those days, in which they came, the sons of Elohim, to the daughters of Adam, and they gave, or well, they conceived from them Hagiborim, the Giborim. This is also important because, interestingly enough, Yahweh says that he comes as a Gibor. So here it says that the Nephilim became the Giborim. So a lot of people tend to take the word Giborim or Gibor as bad. It doesn't mean that all Giborim are Nephilim. What he's saying is that the Nephilim became the main Giborim. The Giborim are, let's see how they translate it here, mighty men. The mighty men, heroes, the people who became famous because of their wars and stuff like that. The Nephilim, like Hercules, and people of what they call a myth, right? So many of those who people believe are myths, they come from mythology, they're actually real. They were Nephilim, they were hybrids, a mix of angel and human. The angel they thought was a god, so they would say that they were a mix of God and human. So I repeat, Gibor is not a bad word, but since it is connected to Nephilim in this verse, a lot of people see it as bad. However, it is something dealing with a warrior, and since it is connected to the Nephilim, is connected to a warrior that comes with a celestial mantle or part within him. And I say that because these were a mix of angel and human. But then we see in the book of Daniel that Michael, an angel, has to come to the earth as a human. And that is what Yahweh refers to within the books of the prophets when he says that he will come as a warrior and that he, Yahweh, will come as a Gibor. So he's not coming as a Nephilim, right? As one of the Nephilim, of course not, for they are an abomination. But he comes as a human, a son of man, who came from the heavens, Michael, and comes to fight a spiritual fight on a white horse with a bow, and he's given a crown and all of that. So he will become a hero in the sense of through the doctrine when saving the chosen few, pretty much. So obviously it's Yahushua who saves them, but through the teaching of he who comes as a Gibor to fight against the false doctrines of nowadays. So it says Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. It says, may Olam of old, or who were known throughout the world, throughout time, men of the name, men of the name. So they received an important name in the sense of they were famous. But some take this also as saying that they were connected to the name. You know how Jewish people, since they have a prohibition from saying the name of the Almighty, instead they say Hashem. So it is this right here, Hashem. So that is why some take it as the man of Hashem, the name, the man of the name. In fact, as we're about to see in the book of Enoch, and let me go back. In the book of Enoch, one of the one of the malachim who came down was called Shemchasa, which means he who sees the name. I will go back to verse 1. It happened after the sons of Adam had multiplied in those days that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the watchers, the sons of heaven, looked at them, they became, or they fell in love with them, saying to each other, come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of Adam, and let us procreate sons. Here, just in case, he writes first of Moshe to refer to Bereshit, to refer to Genesis. So then it says, verse 3, then their leader, Shemchasa, as I was saying, Shem and Chasa is to see. And well, this right here would be of property. So my name, he sees. So he who sees the name. So that means that he was a very important malach, for he was very close to the Almighty, who manifested through his name in the heavens. So that's why he could see the name. Then their leader, Shemchasa, said to them, I fear that ye may perhaps be indisposed to complete this action, and that I shall be the only one held responsible for a great error. This right here condemns them, because that shows that they already knew that they were doing wrong, that it was a great error. Here, what he's doing is getting everybody in that great error. He doesn't want to go alone in the sense of be the only one guilty of it. So he wants to get everybody involved. I fear that ye may perhaps be indisposed to complete this action, and that I shall be the only one held responsible for a great error. But they answered him and said, let us all swear and bind ourselves by mutual curses, that we will not change our intention, but execute our projected undertaking. So right there, they are showing, they are revealing that they knew what they were doing, and therefore that they deserved punishment. Then they swore all together, and all bound themselves by mutual curses. Their entire number was 200, which descended. 200, which when it comes to the numerical value of the letters, is the numerical value of the letter Resh right there, which is a head. So that means that they were heads, they were important, they were leaders. Their entire number was 200, which descended in the days of Yered. Yered means to descend, pretty much. So he was given that name because the Malachim descended to the earth when he was born. During that time, they were coming to the earth. So that's why he was given that name, Yered. And also, he was given that name because in that time, which is something that a lot of Christians believe as the only interpretation of Genesis 6, those who obviously don't believe in the book of Hanoch, has inspired. They believe that something which actually did happen, but it is not the only thing that happened, that children of Adam began to descend from the mountain where they would live and started mixing themselves with the children of Cain. So that started to happen also, but that is not the point of Genesis 6. So yet it had those two meanings. The fact that the sons of Adam descended from a higher status by mixing themselves with the daughters of Cain, but mainly the fact that the Malachim descended from the heavens in his time. So in the days of Yedet, to the top of Mount Hermon, Mount Hermon. The name of the mountain, actually, well, I was about to say was coming in the next verse. Verse 8. That mountain therefore was called Hermon, because they had sworn upon it. So the name Hermon, and we have a comment here, derives its name from the Ivrit word Herem, which means a curse. In the concordance, the Strong's concordance, they simply translated as association, as in they bound it themselves. But the point is that with a curse. So that's why this translation explains that. It comes from Herem, which is curse. So since they made an oath that curses would fall on them if they were to break that oath, then the name of the mound was Hermon, because they became connected, bounded under that curse. So that mountain therefore was called Hermon because they had sworn upon it and bound themselves by mutual curses. These are the names of their chiefs: Shemhasa, who was their leader; Artakov, Ramael, Kokabel, El, or other translations write Turel, which would be most likely, since El is just mighty one. Ramael, Daniel, Zekel, Barakel, Azael. Azael is an important character in the story. So remember that name. He's one pretty much of this whole group. He became the most important one in the negative sense. He brought more evil to the world, and that's why Yahweh added a letter to his name to cut, pretty much, since the Zain is a Zord, to cut the power of the word El from the strength represented by Azah. So Azael means the strength of the mighty one. So Yahweh pretty much added Azain to make it Azazel, cutting the strength from that mighty one. Then we have Harmony, Matrael, Ananel, Satoel, Shamsiel, Sahariel, Tumiel, Turiel, Yomiel, and Yadiel. These were the leaders, pretty much, of the 200 envoys. These were the leaders of the 200 envoys, the heads, as I was saying, of the 200. So we have Artakov, Ramael, Kokabel, Turel, Ramael, Daniel, Sekel, Barakel, Azael, Harmony, Metrael, Anael, Ananel, Satuel, Shamsiel, Sahariel, Tumiel, Turiel, Yomiel, Yadiel, plus Shemhasa, that would be 20. So that's why there were 220 leaders. These were the prefects of the 200 envoys, the 200 malachim, and the remainder was all with them. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself, whom they began to mount, and with whom they contaminated themselves, teaching them sorcery, incantations. Let me just read this comment, which I didn't see where. Oh yeah, these are the names. There's a comment. These names are put as they were found in the Spanish translation, which obtained them from the Aramaic Qumran translation. No further attempt to transliterate them more accurately here has been made, except in this case, in the case of Shemchasa. That's why there's a Y right here from the Spanish one. I guess you missed that one at the end. So continue. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself whom they began to mount and with whom they contaminated themselves. Because angels were from a higher reality. So for angels to mix with humans would be like a human mixing or having sex with an animal, which is an abomination. And in fact, I was just reading some sad things regarding how they want to add the letter Z to the LGBTQ, all of those letters. They want to add the letter Z, which I would hope is just to end it, but it's because of the zoophiles, pretty much those who have sex with animals. So they are including pedophiles and zoophiles, those who have sex with children and those who have sex with animals. So yeah, there's a lot of talk regarding that, and there are a couple countries that are kind of allowing it. There's one country that made a law against it not that long ago, Germany. But yeah, that's what is coming as just another like sexual preference, as they would say. Yeah, they also call it bestiality, and that's why they had been pushing for a long time movies like Beauty and the Beast, for instance. That is to make children think that it is normal. So when they grow, there's nothing weird about a female wanting to be with a beast or the other way around, right? So, anyways, just like it is an abomination for a man to have sex with an animal, it is an abomination for an angel to have sex with a man. And like I said, when it comes to the different realities, they are on a higher reality. When it comes to our body, the angels were made with a higher body, stronger and better than the human body. But spiritually, we were made to become greater than the angels and then receive even the body. So that's part of the reason why angels don't like us that much. But as I was saying, when it comes to the current reality, they are on a higher plane, on a higher level. Through Yahushua, we're above, so we have authority over the fallen angels, of course. And then in the next reality, we will become even greater than the angels. But when it comes to the image, we were made in the image of Yahweh. That's why we will become greater than the angels eventually. We were made in the image and likeness of Yahweh. Yet the animals in this reality were made in the image and likeness of the angels. So even though the angels right now are on a higher reality, when it comes to the spirit, we are higher. Just like as humans, we are higher than animals. I hope that is understood. And that's why also Yahweh allows certain angels to come to this reality in order to also become humans and therefore be able to grow or ascend in the ladder. So I go back to the verse. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself whom they began to mount and with whom they contaminated themselves, teaching them sorcery. So they taught sorcery. Right before the flood, the angels came down, taught sorcery. Sorcery is pretty much is a type of science because it is a type of knowledge, occult knowledge, because it was not allowed for humans. It was known by angels because they know nature, so they know how mixing certain thing with another thing can cause certain change in reality. Yet it is pretty much as cheating for a person to use sorcery, that person is what he's trying to do is get ahead through a means that it is not allowed. So it's like cheating in life. And that's why it brings a lot of bad and negative consequences. It is like using a cheat code when playing a video game. It's not fair. And it is just mixing a couple of keys and then you get a result without doing the work. So that is pretty much what sorcery kind of is. Obviously, is very bad. I'm just putting it in a sense to understand why is not good. Incantations and the dividing of roots and teaching them about the plants. So teaching how a plant can do this and that. Obviously, mainly the bad things. Yeah, alchemy pretty much, well, they say like the regular definition is the art of being able to change a regular metal into gold. However, in reality, what the alchemists were trying was to become gods. So it was just a metaphor or a way of keeping themselves hidden by claiming that they were just trying to turn metal into gold. However, they were trying to turn humans into gods. That is the true purpose or goal of alchemy. And it's pretty much like a secret society. And regarding if they were ever able to make gold, according to what I have read, like a couple people faked it. They kind of made a hoax, and some people believed it for a while. But back in the day, perhaps through the knowledge of these fallen angels, perhaps, but I haven't seen anything on record. Plus, I repeat, the main point was actually to become gods, not really the metal part. So, verse 11, and the women conceiving brought forth giants, brought forth giants. Here it says the Greek texts vary considerably from the Ethiopic text here. One Greek manuscript adds to this section, saying, and they, regarding the women, bore to them, the watchers, three races first, the great giants. The giants brought forth the Nephilim, and the Nephilim brought forth the Eliud, and they were increasing in power according to their size. Well, I find interesting here that I agree with this person regarding the Book of Jubilees, an uninspired study book. So it works as a study book, but it's not inspired because it had certain things that were added to it that were part of tradition. So I agree with that. And the point here is that you can find in the Book of Jubilees part of what is being said here from the Ethiopic translation. So, and the women conceiving brought forth giants, whose stature was each 300 cubits, about 450 feet. Imagine. 212 meters. Imagine. In fact, I'm going to show the gallery on our website, thewayofyahweh.org. For there are several giants that they have found already. In fact, they found a giant not long ago. You can look for it in China. They found the head, and they are saying, well, they're trying to make it fit with their theory of evolution. Since it doesn't fit, they are trying to make it fit through changing words. But the fact that it is a giant head means there was a giant body under it. So it was a giant that they found in China not long ago. If you want, I can show you guys that report. Okay, we go. So look at this. Well, first of all, has nothing to do with the, but look how there's evidence that men, look at the foot right here, walked with what they call dinosaurs nowadays, but they were called back in the day dragons. But nowadays they say dragons are mythology and dinosaurs are reality, but they are the same thing, different names, just to confuse. And there is evidence that men walked with dragons, but that doesn't fit their theory of evolution and Big Bang and all of that. So they hide these things from people, and they have burned a lot of evidence in the past. And also here, you see a drawing of a dinosaur. Anybody who sees this nowadays would say that's a dinosaur, right? The behemoth of the Book of Enoch. But for somebody to draw this, that person has to be, well, a human. So this is very old art, of course, but that shows that humans saw dragons and that's why they drew them. But that was not the one I wanted to show you guys. Look at this. These are pretty much the sizes of skeletons that they have found throughout part of history. And I say part because I'm sure they have found a lot more, but they don't tell us. But these are those of which there is evidence. And well, you can read here. These skeletal figures represent just a few giant human remains unearthed and documented in historical records, along with the historical accounts of Goliath, right? Which is a giant that David fought, a small giant next to the giants from before the flood, but a giant nevertheless. And since it was in the time of David, that confirms what we read in Genesis, that there were giants in those days and afterward. Here you can see this. This is a 6-person, 6 feet right here, which is pretty much average. I'm a bit lower than this, so imagine. But this is 6 feet right here, and look what they have found, all the way to 36 feet. What they have found, what is recorded. But we are reading that they were back in the day 450 feet. So that's 414 feet more than the biggest one here. And look how regular average men from nowadays, where where it gets not even to the knee. And this is a small giant according to the Book of Enoch. And remember also, just in case, and which might be well, part of the reason why this that we see here are the ones that they have found or are recorded, because also remember that when Israel went to spy the land to see if it was good, they said that they were as grasshoppers to the giants of the land. So a grasshopper is smaller than the 6 feet human right here. It would be so. My point is that the giants that were in the land of Canaan before Israel went in were bigger than this one, 36 feet, according to the actual account of the spies. They were afraid because they were small as grasshoppers, so they would reach perhaps the ankle of the giant, perhaps, and that's being a big grasshopper. So imagine that. Then look at this. There are, just in case, there are some pictures that you can find on the internet that are fake. Some people just decided to make some fake pictures so that they could call all pictures of giants fake. But look at these images of giants they have found. Look at these with horns, cyclops, 3 eyes, and other proof of giants. femur. Look at that next to a regular femur. And these are, I repeat, small giants. These heads were not normal and were not sick, which is what they would say nowadays. They were hybrids. Look at these weapons, bigger than a regular person, double the size, and they had to hold that with their hand. So the hand had to be like the size of a person. So a whole human in the hand of a giant. Look at people with 6 toes. That is, that comes from the giants. The Nephilim had 6 toes. They had 6 fingers on each hand and foot. And that is pretty much like a genetical trace that ended up within certain people of nowadays. They also had double rows of teeth, like sharks kind of thing, sometimes even more than 2, but I say 2 because of this image right here of a person with 2 rows of teeth. That is also like the 6 feet, I mean the 6 toes. Look at this image on the top right corner. It's pretty old, Sumerian. And here's a giant, because look, the people that come to serve him reach his knees pretty much, and he's sitting. So that regarding the giants, you can see those images in the one called Universe. They are also in the English part, because as you saw, they were written in English. So now let me go back to Hanok. Let me see. Yeah, it is amazing. It is way too hard to comprehend such a size. That is true. That is a great story. For those who have not read about it, search for soldiers or the army killed a giant in Afghanistan. I thought it was Pakistan, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, but a Stan, one of those finishing is Stan. So yeah, the army killed a giant not long ago, and they said he looked white, red-headed, and smelled like death. And he came out of a cave. He would eat people because they saw bones of him, like human bones, and he came and attacked them, killed a couple, I think, but then they were able to kill him. And secret, of course, of state. However, a whistleblower came out and spoke about the story. Have you seen the tiny humans too? I've I've read about tiny humans, yeah. Also about humans with tails. I know of a story of some people who were working on a street in Egypt, and they made a hole bigger than they were expecting to make it, and they found what seemed to be like tunnels under it, and they saw certain people that looked like humans but with tails. Regarding tiny people, I have heard of it, haven't read much about it. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, but only like regarding elves and stuff like that. But I know they're not the ones you're talking about. I believe are not like elves. They're just like regular people, just extremely tiny. Um, and yeah, actually, now that I just said it, there was a story I heard. I think there was a video. Yeah, but I'm not remembering much about tiny people, but they were not that tiny either. They were like half, perhaps half of the size of humans. But yeah, I kind of forgot the whole details, the old details. And I was telling you guys about the giant they found in China not long ago. Let me see if the story comes up. Giant, well, obviously this is not true, but that's what they're saying. Giant human skull found in China raises questions on evolution. And this came out June 28th, 2021. So a few days ago, giant skull. So it doesn't fit their evolution theory, but they are trying to make it fit by saying that is one of those missing links and stuff like that, that they were just too big back in the day, which would make sense with evolution, because if the strongest survive, then we should be huge still. It wouldn't make sense to become smaller and weaker and all of that. And our brains also makes no sense with their theory and the way they explain it. So I'm not going to get into the whole thing. Just wanted to show you that. All right. So continuing with Hanok, whose stature was each 300 cubits, which were born on the earth and grew according to their childhood. Grew according to their childhood. These devoured, this is very important because this is when everything started to get real bad. And right now, there are no, at least that we see them or anything like that, because there may be because of that story of Afghanistan, but hidden. And some say that the Illuminati or the system, those who control the powers that be, they have certain giants in underground bases. They even said of reptiles and all of that. But anyways, what I was going to say is that just like they used to do back in the day, they are doing now. They're not giants, but they are giants in power, in money. They call giants many of those companies that are owned by them. Some of them are hybrids, so they are Nephilim. However, they are not giants in size, and that's why they devour everything in their way. That's why they destroy the earth and then claim is our fault. So it says, these devoured all that the labor, well, these devour all the labor of the sons of the Adam. These devour all the labor of the sons of Adam, or that the sons of Adam produced. Let me say it again. These devour all the labor that the sons of Adam produced until it became impossible to feed them. Imagine, like our sister here wrote, about 50,000 pounds. Imagine a person of 50,000 pounds, how much he would have to eat each and every day just to feel satisfied. And they wouldn't do it until they were satisfied. They would go above and beyond it. So imagine how much they would eat. So they began to eat humans. So it says, until it became impossible to feed them. Then they turned themselves against men in order to kill them and devour them. So when there was not enough food on earth, they started to eat humans and began to injure all the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, the reptiles and the fishes of the sea, and the fish of the sea, and they devoured each other's flesh and drank their blood. So they drank the blood, which it is forbidden. The nephesh, the soul, is in the blood. So they were not only eating the people, they were eating their souls. So and began to injure, this injuring not only by eating them, but also by mixing them, their DNA, and began to injure all the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, the reptiles and the fish of the sea, and they devour each other's flesh and drank their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteous for all that had been done in her. Here, when it says one another's flesh, R.H. Charles notes that this phrase may refer to destruction of one class of giants by another class, which wouldn't be surprising at all. Not only were they eating humans, destroying the animals, but they were also killing each other because there were different families of giants. And we see them later on also in scriptures. The Anahim, the Rephaim, and others. So that's how chapter 7 ends. chapter 8, verse 1. Moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords. So here we see Azazel coming in the picture with um, a lot more than the rest of his peers. So that's why it says, moreover, other than everything, all the evil that the Malachim and the Nephilim had done already, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords. So he's pretty much guilty of war on the earth. And Azazel became Azazel, who was then trapped in the bottomless pit and is called Abaddon, which means the destroyer, who will come out during the fifth trumpet with his army to cause a lot of pain to those who are evil, those who reject Yahweh. So, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords and knives of iron and shields and breastplates of copper, the fabrication and polishing of gold. And look how it says the fabrication, which could be connected to what we were speaking about regarding alchemy, the fabrication and polishing of gold. Obviously, it could mean the way to obtain gold and make it like turn it into something usable, but it could very well be something like what they call alchemy, the fabrication and polishing of gold, and the workmanship of silver for bracelets and other ornaments. So a lot of the vanity, other than war, represented by the swords, knives of iron, and shields, and breastplates of copper, also the vanity of wearing gold or precious metals in order to feel more important, bigger, better, whatever. And also, obviously, having more money, because back in the day it was gold, which they would keep. So the fabrication and polishing of gold and the workmanship of silver and for bracelets and other ornaments. He taught, listen to this, he taught women about antimony, the use of paint and beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. So he taught also the vanity of using makeup pretty much to deceive in order to alter the course of humanity. And obviously, makeup nowadays is a giant when it comes to how much money it makes, and sadly, how much women think they need it, which is part of the program, right? Because most men, and I would say even all true men, do not like a female who is covered in a lot of makeup. In fact, most of the time, the less, the better. But women do it pretty much because of the social pressure, the magazines, the movies, the shows on TV, and the other women around. So it's sad, but it is very common. However, I repeat, if females like to know what men think, we don't like it that much. and also like there are a lot of memes regarding that, and even movies and shows like comedy on how deceitful it is for a lot of people, right? Because then when they get home, they turn into another person, and that is not nice. um so yeah, we should be happy with who we are, what Yahweh created in us, and not hide behind a mask or behind makeup or whatever. So he taught women, and also I'm not saying that it is like a sin to make yourself more beautiful, but make yourself more beautiful. Don't make somebody else your face. Don't turn yourself into something else. That is just not right. I repeat. So he taught women about antimony, and also just want to make that clear also regarding making yourself beautiful. think about why you are making yourself beautiful, why you are trying, who you are trying to attract, because a lot of females are married already. And when it comes to their husband, they don't care how they look. But when it comes to going out, they get all dressed up and all pretty. And then the question rises, who are they getting pretty for? Since they should be pretty for who, like for their partner. So a lot of things on how people act nowadays make no sense. So the wife should make herself beautiful for the husband, and the husband should keep himself as good as possible for the wife, physically, right? um, but yeah, the women should ask themselves, who are they getting pretty for, and what is the reason? So he taught women about antimony, the use of paint, the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Irreverence increased, fornication multiplied. So we see how Azazel, who became Azazel, did so much evil, above everything that the other angels had done already. So because of the vanity that he promoted and taught, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Part of the things that he taught regarding plants, for instance, the use of plants and roots, was to use as well, for the women not to get pregnant, or if they would, to abort the child. So that's why fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Shemchasa taught all the sorcerers and dividers of roots. Harmony taught how to break spells, witchcraft, magic, and divining. Barakel taught the observers of the stars. Pretty much what we call now astrologers. Kokabel taught the predictions of the stars. Kokav means star. So just his name shows that that was what he was created for, and therefore the knowledge that he had, reason why that's what he taught humans. So depending on the angel and what he was created for, the knowledge that that angel had and what he could transmit to humans. Azael, as the strength of the mighty one, means that he had to do a lot to do with fighting or war, and that's why he taught about swords and stuff like that. So Kokabel taught the predictions of the stars. Zekel, those of the lightning bolts. El taught their meanings, which would be the one that appear here as Turel. Turel taught their meanings. Which could be the meanings of the lightning bolts. So how to read or understand things through the lightning bolts, and Turel how to understand the meaning of it. Artakov taught the signs of the earth. Shamsiel taught the predictions of the luminary orb, the sun. Shemesh is sun in Hebrew, so it makes sense that his name would be Shemeshiel. Shemeshiel. And Sahariel taught those of the moon. As part of the men were being annihilated, their cry ascended unto the heavens. That's when Yahweh came down and said what we read in Genesis 6. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not strive with men forever, and he's going astray. His flesh and his days shall be 120 years. Yahweh said that when men were being annihilated and their cry ascended unto the heavens. That's when Yahweh came down and saw what was going on. So chapter 9, verse 1. Then Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel, and Uriel looked down from the pure place of heaven. So Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel, and Uriel. And according to one translation, Uriel was not there. But Uriel is right there, I think so. It's cool. Uriel means my light is the mighty one. My light is the mighty one. Michael, who is like the mighty one? Gabriel, the warrior or the strong or the courageous of the mighty one. Comes from Gever, but also connected to Givor, from Gevurah, which is severity, or has all the translations. Raphael, he who cures, well, the healing of the mighty one. And Suriel should be my rock is the mighty one. My rock is the mighty one. And I say should be because I'm not seeing it in Hebrew, but because of how it is written here and pronounced, it should be my rock is the mighty one. So the names here, who is like the mighty one? The warrior of the mighty one who comes to heal or be healed by the mighty one, resurrected. By the rock of the mighty one, Yahushua, who is the light of the mighty one. So it is like the coming of the last, who will be resurrected by the first, who is the light of the mighty one. Because Michael and Gabriel are connected to what the last will come to do, to show who is Yahweh coming as a warrior, as a Gibor. But then he will be killed, and he has to be healed, Raphael, healed by the mighty one, who happens to be the rock of the mighty one, and who is the light, for he said, I am the light and the way, etc. Also, these Malachim, because of what I have read in the Gnostic books, and well, in all the books also in Judaism, I have come to believe, at least till this point, that they are of a higher realm, a higher reality. And they would be, even though the Gnostic books don't call them by their names, I believe they are mentioned in the Gnostic books as 7 angels. There are 5 here, but there are 2 more that will come next, like in other chapters. There are 7 angels who came from the 3rd heaven as messengers of fire to condemn Samael when he rebelled against Yahweh. So I believe those 7 that are mentioned in the Gnostic books are these 7, of which 5 are mentioned here. And like the 7 lights in the menorah. And I do believe also that after those 7 angels came directly from the 3rd heaven into the 2nd heaven, they remain in the 2nd heaven, subjected to the angel of the 2nd heaven, Hillel, and later they would regain their authority and become greater than, returning to the 3rd heaven after coming to the earth. And I guess I'm saying a lot, and hopefully I'm not confusing anybody. But it is like Michael represents David, Hillel, Lucifer, is represented by Saul or Shaul, who was replaced by David, just like Lucifer will be replaced by Michael. But just like David was under Saul or Saul, Michael had to be under Hillel for a while in the 2nd heaven, even though he came from the 3rd in the beginning. Hope that is understood. And just like Mashiach came down to save wisdom, the wisdom which was within the congregation of those who choose him, for the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yahweh. So those who fear Yahweh receive the wisdom, and that makes them the congregation, and therefore the congregation is the one who has the spirit of wisdom. So Yahushua came down to cleanse the ruach of wisdom within the congregation, so that he, with her wisdom, could go back up to the Father in the third heaven, or the eighth heaven, if we take in account the seven heavens that are within the second. So the first heaven, that of men, the second heaven, that of angels, the third heaven, that of Yahweh, the Creator Almighty. But seven came down from the third and received, I would say, bodies in the second heaven, and that's where they remain until they would come to earth. At least Michael, because we are told about that in Daniel 12:1, that Michael would come in the end times. So then Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel, and Uriel looked down from the set apart place of heaven and saw the quantity of blood. So by saying look down from the pure place or set apart place of heavens, or of the heavens, means that they were in a separate place. They were different than the rest of the angels. They were set apart, which is what he's translating as pure in this chapter, which would be Kadosh. Look down from the set apart place of heaven, which would be also the temple in heaven, which is mentioned in Revelation 11, where we see the two witnesses. So looked down from the pure place of heaven and saw the quantity of blood which was shed on the earth, and that it was all full of the iniquity and the violence which was done upon it. And considering this, these four said one to another. Here there's a comment. It says, verse 1 names 5 envoys or messengers, and says here 4. Okay, so that, I believe, I'm about to read the whole comment, but with the fact that the Spanish version didn't have Uriel in that part, this kind of confirms that perhaps it wasn't there yet, because it then appears later, right? Like I said, but I'm gonna read the comment. Apparently, some scribe tried to eliminate Uriel from the Spanish translation to make it congruent, and the mention that they were 4 was eliminated from the English translation, but these alterations were revealed in comparing them. The solution is that Michael is who they complain to, as this one is the chief envoy of Yahweh and the one at the right hand side of the Father on his throne. Okay. Just in case, and I want to make this clear, even though I agree with 90% of what he just said right there, in the view of the person who translated this book, Michael is Yahushua. So he believes that Yahushua, before entering the flesh, was Michael. That's why he mentions there that he's at the right hand of the Father. Now, Michael is the angel that represents Yahweh in the second heaven. Yes, but Michael is the last, is the second manifestation of Yahweh. Yahushua is the first who came straight from the third heaven to the earth, while Michael first went through the second heaven as a malach. So Yahushua came first. He was the image that Yahweh used to make humans, is the word through which Yahweh created all things. And then he came down and spoke to the prophets before entering in flesh. And then he entered the flesh through Miriam. When it comes to Michael, Michael came as a fire from the third heaven, entered the second heaven to represent like David and, well, represent Yahweh. Even though he was under another angel, Halel, who was also a representation of Yahweh in the second heaven, but he rebelled, just like Shaul or Saul. So, my point is, first and last are one at the end, and they were one at the beginning, but they separated after the beginning as first and last, Yahushua and Michael. But I don't know. I don't think this person has the understanding of the first and the last. So that may be part of the issue, just so you guys know. So pretty much what the comment explained was that most likely they got confused because one version had it, the other one tried to delete it, delete Uriel, and then they try to fix it by taking out in the English translation the fact that it said 4. But the understanding and pretty much the comment, and I agree, is that many times translators try to fix scriptures because they don't understand what is being said in the text. If they had not messed around with this part, because of the fact that he mentioned five malachim and then mentions, it says, and considering these four said one to another. So it would be as Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel, and Uriel talking to each other to come and complain to Michael, who represented Yahweh to them in the second heaven. That's pretty much the point there. So just in case, I'm gonna read here. We are in chapter 9, but I think it's chapter 8 in this other translation. No, it will be chapter 10. No, I guess it's 9. So, and they said to one another, yeah, they deleted the 4. So one translation just says they said to one another. That translation is the one that doesn't have Uriel. So they could have just used the 4, but anyways, going back here. And considering these 4 said one to another, or they said to one another, the voice of the cries and the lamentations for the destruction of the sons of the earth has ascended even to the gates of heaven. And they said to the set apart one of heaven, and they said to the pure one of heaven, to the Kadosh of heaven, it is now to you, O you pure one of heaven, to whom the lives, Nefesh in Hebrew, the lives of the sons of the Adam supplicate, saying, take our cause before the Most High, our destruction before the majestic worth and before the sovereign of all the sovereigns in majesty. It is now to you, O you pure one of heaven, to whom the lives of the sons of Adam supplicate, saying, take our cause before the Most High. So that is interesting, because it is as they are talking to the Almighty, yet then they say to him, take it to the Most High, as if they are talking to Michael, who represents the Most High, but then Michael has to take that to the Most High, as the leader would take it to the Almighty in prayer. Take our cause before the Most High, our destruction before the majestic worth, and before the sovereign of all the sovereigns in majesty. Then Raphael, Michael, Suriel, Uriel, and Gabriel said to the sovereign of the world. So now we see Michael mentioned. So therefore they are talking to the creator, to the Almighty creator. And the fact that it says Raphael, Michael, Suriel, and Gabriel, for sure, in all translations, would kind of lean the translation to the 4 that were mentioned in the previous verse. Hope that's understood. At the end, the issue is that a scribe made a change, and that caused certain confusion when it comes to the previous verses regarding if there were 4 or if that 4 was even there originally. So then Raphael, Michael, Suriel, Uriel, and Gabriel said to the sovereign of the world, you are our great sovereign. Also, if there are only 4 angels mentioned, they would be representing the 4 corners of the earth, the 4 letters of the name Yahweh, and therefore the 4 malachim who can reach the name and talk to him for him to act. However, if there were 5 malachim, the connection would be with favor. The number 5 represents favor, and therefore the allusion would be that they were seeking the favor of Yahweh towards men. So they said to the sovereign of the world, you are our great sovereign, the sovereign of the world, the sovereign of sovereigns, the power of the mighty ones, and the King of kings. The heavens are the throne of your worth, which would be of your honor, just in case, which most likely is in Hebrew kabod, which has to do with weight, as in he's heavy when it comes to esteem and honor, splendor. The heavens are the throne of your worth for all the generations, forever and ever. All the earth is the footstool before you forever and ever is your great name kept pure and honored and blessed. Your great name kept pure and honored and blessed. It is you who have made all things, and in you resides the power over all things. And all things are uncovered in all its nakedness before you. You see all things, and nothing can be concealed from you. It is interesting, and it is written in another book, how Yahweh is the one who sees all, but none can see him. And that is an amazing thought, I believe, to meditate on. He can see all things, but no person, pretty much nothing can see him. So you see all things, and nothing can be concealed from you. You have seen what Azazel has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world the secret things which are done in the heavens. So there is war in the heavens, and that's why the angel taught war to men. And we see part of that in the book of Daniel, for instance, as well as other things, knowledge, pretty much. You have seen what Azazel has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world the secret things which are done in the heavens. Even Shemchaza also has taught sorcery. So the fact that they mention Azazel first, even though Shemchaza was the leader, shows that Azazel was worse. But then it says, even Shemchaza also has taught sorcery, to whom you have given authority over those who are associated with him. Even Shemchaza also has taught sorcery, to whom you have given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of Adam, and have lain with them, and have become polluted themselves, and have revealed all error to them. Meaning the angels revealed how to sin, how to err on the earth, and have revealed all error to them. Afterwards, these women have brought forth giants, which is why the entire earth has been filled with blood and with injustice. And now look, the lives of those who are dead cried out. Well, the souls, the nephesh of those who are dead cry out and complain, even to the gate of heaven. They're groaning in a sense, and they cannot cease for the unrighteousness that is being committed on earth. But you know all things before they happen. You know these things and what they have done, yet you do not tell us what, on account of these things, ought we to do for them. So they were thinking, Yahweh knows all things. He knows that this is happening, but he hasn't said anything to us regarding what we should do. Then, chapter 10, verse 1. Then the Most High, the great and set apart one, spoke and sent Tzuriel to the son of Lemech, meaning to Noah. In the other translations, it says Sariel. And one Greek text reads Uriel. And sent Tzuriel to the son of Lemech, saying to him, go to Noah and say to him, by my name, conceal yourself. So, for instance, we see in Genesis that the Almighty came to Noah. Verse 8, I go to Genesis for a second. Verse 8, it says, but Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. And I want to show you guys something interesting, since you can see here the Hebrew. Verse 8, it says, V'Noach, or En Noach, found Chen, Now, it may not look like it is the same word because the letter changes when it's at the end, but look how the name Noach is the same as Chen, just the other way around, like the nun at the end. And I will show it to you here. If we write nun and then Het, we have Noach. If we take this Het and put it at the beginning, we have Chen, right? But just so you guys know, this letter nun, when it appears at the end, that's why the translator is not doing it well. When it appears at the end, it is not written this way. It is written with all like straight down like this, which is favor. They translate it as grace, but it's favor. So Chen, and another way of seeing it, just in case you guys don't know, like if I write the nun, it tells me it's 50 because that's the numerical value of the nun. If I write the other nun, well, it's not telling me, but it should be 50. But you see how it tells me is a letter N, which is the equivalent of nun in Hebrew. So Chen is favor. Noach found favor, and Noach is favor backwards. The numerical value 58, obviously for both words. So Noach, seen by the father, like in a mirror, would be read as Chen, favor. So in Genesis, and Noach found Chen, favor in the eyes of Yahweh. So verse 8, it says, but Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations, etc., etc. And Elohim, verse 12, looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all the flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah. So Elohim said to Noah. Most people tend to think here that the Almighty himself came down and spoke to Noah. But Yahweh is invisible, and he doesn't need to leave his throne. He has myriads of angels. So he sent an angel. And that is part of what it means when the scripture says Elohim instead of Yahweh also. Just in case. Well, that's part of it. So, and Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And see, I am going to destroy them from the earth. Make yourself an ark. So if we go back to the book of Hanoch, Yahweh told an angel, a malach, to go to Noah. The malach appeared to Noah, saying to him, go to Noah and say to him by my name, conceal yourself. So it was the angel who appeared to Noah and told him, hide yourself. Pretty much by building an ark. Then explain to him the consummation which is about to take place. About to take place. There were going to be 120 years. But to Yahweh, 120 years is nothing. Because if to Yahweh one day is 1,000 years, so 120 years is just 12% of a day. So pretty much 2 hours, some minutes. So then explain to him the consummation which is about to take place. For all the earth shall perish. The waters of a deluge are about to come over the entire earth, and all things that are found in it shall perish. And quickly now teach the righteous one, for that's one of the reasons why he was chosen. Yahweh showed him favor, for he was righteous. And quickly now teach the righteous one, the son of Lemech, what he must do to preserve his self, his soul, for life, and that he may definitely escape. Because through him shall a plant, because through him shall a plant be sown, shall a plant be sown, which is interesting because we know that right after the flood, the first thing that Noah did was he planted a vineyard. But that's not what he's referring to here. However, Yahushua came and he said, I am the vine. So if Yahushua is the vine, and Noah, the first thing that he did was plant a vine, then what he was referring here was, what he was referring to here was the fact that Yahweh would send his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, the root of David, through Noah eventually. Because through Noah would come Abraham, to whom the promise was given. And Yahushua is the root, the last is the branch. So they are both together the plant. So because through him shall a plant be sown and be established throughout all the generations. And furthermore, Yahweh said to Raphael, and furthermore, Yahweh said to Raphael, bind Azazel, hand and foot, cast him into the darkness, opening the desert which is in Dudael, which means the cauldron of the power. Dudael. So opening the desert. Remember that Sheol is under the earth. The part of paradise is under Zion or Zion, the part where the temple should be. And the part of hell is under a place called Gehinnom, the valley of the, Gehinnom. That's why in Judaism, they normally call hell Gehinnom, but that is a place in Israel. But under it is the part called hell. So that's why it says opening the desert, meaning under the desert, he would be trapped in the cauldron of the power, Dudael. Also, remember that, and let me go to Leviticus 16, verse 8, and Aharon shall cast lots for the two goats, one lot for Yahweh and the other lot for Azazel. If we take one of those Z's, the second one, we have Azael. That is the same Malach. In Hebrew, we have it, see, verse 8. It says here, and another one for Azazel. So this is the sword that Yahweh placed in the name to divide the power that was given to him, meaning to destroy it, to take it away from him, to cut from Azael the power given to him, or to cut Azael from the power from Yahweh, from Elohim, which is represented by the Aleph and the Lamed, which was together before the Zayin was placed there. So Yahweh placed the Zayin to cut the El, the power. So he became Azazel. So Azael became Azazel and is mentioned in Leviticus 16. And remember when Pilate made the people choose between Yahushua and Barabbas? Barabbas means son of the father. So right there, Pilate was acting as the Kohen Gadol, preparing the two goats and throwing lots for the goats to see which one would be sacrificed for Yahweh and which one would be allowed to go free for Azazel. For it says here on verse 8, and Aharon shall cast lots for the two goats. So Pilate as Aharon and the two goats as Yahushua and Barabbas. One lot for Yahweh, that was Yahushua, and the other lot for Azazel, that was Barabbas. And Aharon shall bring the goat on which the lot for Yahweh fell and shall prepare it as a sin offering. That's why Yahushua paid for our sins with his sacrifice. But the goat on which the lot for Azazel fell is caused to stand alive before Yahweh. It's caused to stand alive, he will have to give answer for all the sin of humanity. He will go with all the sin of humanity also to hell. That's why it says, but the goat on which the Lord of Azazel failed is caused to stand alive before Yahweh, to make atonement upon it, to send it into the wilderness to Azazel, to send it into the desert to Azazel. Azazel was trapped in the wilderness, as we just read in the book of Enoch, right? Yahweh sent an angel to trap Azazel in the wilderness, in the desert of Dudael. And here we see why Yahweh would send a goat for Azazel to the desert, for it represented him, the one who was trapped in the desert. And Aharon shall bring the bull of the sin offering. That's referring to the second coming, the last who will be killed, descendant of Ephraim. All right, so going back to Hanoch. Bind Azael, hand and foot, cast him into the darkness, opening the desert which is in Dudael, and cast him in there. Throw upon him abrasive and sharp stones, covering him with darkness. Leave him there to remain for the age. Cover his face, that he may not see the light. And in the great day of judgment, let him be cast into the fire. So he will be there, then he will be allowed to come out for a bit, and then he will be cast into the lake of fire. And in the great day of judgment, which is at the end of the 1,000 years, the 1,000 years that are coming are the day of Yahweh, but the day of judgment is right at the end of that day of Yahweh. And in the great day of judgment, let him be cast into the fire. Later, restore the earth, which the watchers have corrupted, and announce curing to it, healing to it, that I may revive it from the plague, and that all the sons of Adam might not perish in consequence of the secret which the watchers have revealed and have taught their offspring. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the works which were taught by Azazel. Listen to that. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the works which were taught by Azazel. So Azazel is the Antichrist, the true Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist. Because just like Yahushua HaMashiach, the goat for Yahweh, to be sacrificed for Yahweh and for our sins, Yahushua taught us the way of life. Azazel taught the way of death. Yahushua taught us spiritual war. Azazel taught physical war. Yahushua taught us how to become beautiful in the eyes of Yahweh spiritually. Azazel taught women how to become beautiful physically for fornication to grow, etc., etc. Azazel taught how to use plants to do witchcraft. Yahushua gave us authority to heal and other things through his name. So Yahushua is the one who has purified the earth, but Azazel is the one who corrupted the earth. That's why they are both represented by the two goats of Yom Kippur. And that's why the world, which is corrupted nowadays, will accept Azazel as God on earth, for they love him. They love what he has done for this world. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the works which were taught by Azazel. To him, therefore, ascribed the entire crime. And I want to read this in the other verse, in the other translation, for I think maybe even clearer. Verse 8, and the whole earth has been corrupted by, well, you see how they write it here, Azazel. However, the Z should be between the E and the L, as we just saw in Leviticus. And the whole earth has been corrupted by Azazel's teaching, just like Yahushua, through his teaching, purified the earth, at least those who accept him. So the whole earth has been corrupted by Azazel's teaching on his own actions. Right upon him all sin. All sin. So just like Yahushua paid for all sin with his death, Azazel is blamed for all sin. That's why he was allowed to remain alive, so that he will carry the guilt, carry the sin. In fact, if we go back to Leviticus 16, here it says, verse 21, then Aharon shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and shall confess over it all the crookedness of the children of Israel, because all of the crookedness, all the sin of Israel is his fault, Azazel's fault. Then Aharon shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and shall confess over it all the crookedness of the children of Israel and all their transgressions in all their sins. So all the sins of Israel over the head of the live goat that was sent to Azazel, and shall put them on the head of the goat, shall put them on the head of the goat. He is blamed for all sin of Israel, just like Yahushua paid for all sin, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a fit man. And the goat shall bear on itself all their crookedness, and the goat shall bear on itself all their crookedness. See how Leviticus 16 confirms Hanoch chapter 10, verse 8, depending on the translation, the numbers. So it confirms that all sin was given to Azazel for what he had done, and that was remembered, or is, every Yom Kippur. And I say was in the sense of the sacrifice that are not going on right now, but we still remember it every Yom Kippur. So, and the goat shall bear on itself all their crookedness to a land cut off. Thus he shall send the goat away into the wilderness. Interestingly enough, the Jewish people, because of the Talmud, the tradition, they were so afraid that the goat would return to Israel that they made a law, a commandment of men, which is forbidden, but they made a law that the goat was supposed to be thrown down a cliff. So at the end, they ended up sacrificing a goat for Azazel. So they were sacrificing to Azazel, breaking the commandment of Yahweh. Now, Yom Kippur will be fulfilled through the death of the two witnesses. So that is when the death of the two witnesses happen, that Azazel will finally be sent away. Just so you guys know, when the two witnesses are killed, that's when Azazel will manifest on this earth as Christ, called by Mashiach Yahushua, the abomination of desolation, in the book of Daniel, and also in Matthew 24 and other parts of scripture, like the book of Maccabees. So, and the goat shall bear on itself all the crookedness to a land cut off. Thus he shall send the goat away into the wilderness. Now, if we go for a moment to the book of Revelation, chapter 18, right? At the very end, verse 24. And in her, which is the great whore of Babylon, who happens to be the mother of Azazel, spiritually speaking, because you know how they worship a mother and a son, Semiramis and Tammuz, that is Lilith and Azazel. So the great whore of Babylon is the mother of Azazel, because she is the one that is introducing the world to the false Messiah. So just like in the book of Hanoch, all blame for all sin of humanity was placed on Azazel. Here we read in the book of Revelation regarding his mom, and in her was found the blood of prophets and set apart ones, and of all who were slain on the earth. So all the blood that has been spilled on the earth is the great whore's fault. All sin is her son's fault, Azazel. And the great whore pretty much is a spirit of wickedness, the spirit of evil wisdom. 2 Peter 2, 4, and 5. Yeah, let's go and read that. 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. reads, for if Elohim did not spare the messengers who sinned, but send them to, this is a Greek word. I don't know why they added the Greek part of it. It says here, possibly from Hebrew, tahti. But it would be it pretty much is the worst part of Sheol, which would be the bottomless pit, which has a name in Hebrew, Abaddon, which received that name because of the angel that is there, the destroyer. So, for if Elohim did not spare the messengers who sinned, but send them to the worst place in the hell, the worst place in hell, literally, the bottomless pit. Tartarus is what is called in the Greek mythology, where they place the Titans after the war against the gods. So it is in part true. That's why they call it Tartarus, because that's where the fallen angels were placed. So, for if Elohim did not spare the messengers who sinned, but send them to the bottomless pit and delivered them into the chains of darkness. Look how it says, and delivered them into the chains of darkness, just like we read in the book of Hanoch, that he was to be placed in chains in darkness. So delivered them into the chains of darkness to be kept for judgment. So these two verses that we are reading are a confirmation that the disciples read the book of Enoch, for they got this from the book of Enoch. So that shows that they would read the book of Enoch and that Yahushua was with it. So, and did not spare the world of old, but preserved Noah. So look how close it is, even in these two verses. He goes from speaking about the messengers who sinned and were sent to the bottomless pit, and right after Noah, just like in the book of Noah, Suriel was told, go and talk to Noah, and you, Gabriel, go and place Azazel in darkness, in chains. So, and did not spare the world of old, but preserved Noah, a proclaimer of righteousness, and seven others, bringing in the flood of the world on the world of the wicked. Seven others, like in Micah or Micaiah the prophet, we read how the last, as Noah, because the Son of Man would come like in the days of Noah. Noah was a preacher. The last comes as a preacher. So the last is as Noah. Now the seven were his wife, his three children, and their three wives. But the fact that this verse just says and seven makes reference to the prophecy of one, the last, coming with seven, just like Yahushua came with 12. 12 because of the 12 tribes of Israel, 7 because of the 70 nations in the world. The first came to Israel, the last comes to the nations, to take from the nations those of Israel who are within it. Nevertheless, so still, obviously, Gentiles are part of the plan through Yahushua, but the last comes to gather the 144,000 who are from the 12 tribes of Israel. So, and did not spare the world of old, but preserved Noah, a proclaimer of righteousness, and seven others, bringing in the flood on the world of the wicked. To him, therefore, ascribe the entire sin, all sinned. To Gabriel also Yahweh said, go to the bastards. In Hebrew, mamzer, or mamzerim in plural. It means the product of scripturally forbidden sexual unions. A bastard or a mamzer is one who came from an illicit partnership, an illicit sexual relation. It has no bearing on racial mixing scripturally. All right, so to Gabriel also Yahweh said, go to the bastards, to the reprobates, to the sons of fornication, and make the sons of fornication, the offspring of the watchers, disappear from among men, bring them forth, and incite them one against another. So Yahweh he sent the messenger Gabriel to make the giants destroy each other, pretty much. To the reprobates, to the sons of fornication, and make the sons of fornication, the offspring of the watchers, disappear from among them. Bring them forth and incite them one against another. Let them perish by mutual slaughter, for length of days shall not be theirs. Like the angels thought. The angels, since they would have life during all this reality, even though humans come and go, angels have lived throughout the entire time of humanity. So they thought that it would be similar with their children. So part of their punishment was to see their children die. Let them perish by mutual slaughter, for length of days shall not be theirs. They shall all implore you, but no petition of their fathers shall be obtained respecting them. They shall all implore you, but no petition of their fathers shall be obtained respecting them. For they shall hope to live an eternal life, or that they may live, each of them 500 years. To Michael, likewise, Yahweh said, go and announce to Shemhasa and to the others who are with him, who have been associated with women and who polluted themselves with them in their impurity, that their sons shall be slain, and they shall see the perdition of their beloved. Bind them for 70 generations. Bind them for 70 generations. All right, here, like I have mentioned, I don't always agree with the comments, so they can confuse because they can make people think that what is written in the parentheses, it's a complete fact, but this could be taken in different ways. For to some, a generation is 40 years. Now, here, he is taking in account the generation according to David, that a generation is from 70 at the most 80, which is pretty much the most common verse to use regarding what the life of man lasts after the flood. However, look, he says here, from the year 1400 till the year 7000, which would be at the end of the millennium. However, we see at the beginning of the millennium that they are released from their prison in order to destroy the earth as part of the plagues of the last 7 years. And then they will be judged and sent to the lake of fire. Now, it is interesting that it says 70 generations, because if we see, like I said, David said 70 years, at the most 80. He took the 80, which is the most, but that is not the average. That is not the common thing. That would be for those who are righteous. Yahweh would allow them to reach 80, pretty much is the point. If we were to write, well, to multiply 70 by 70, we would get 4,900 years. If we add the year in which this could have been happening, which he says is the 1400, but that also could be a bit different, that would pretty much take us to the beginning of the millennium, On the other hand, I have explained how in average, because of the 70 to 80, and because of the fact that Yahweh mentions the year, the number 77 several times in important key parts of scripture, like when they say 70 times 7 actually says 77. So taken as average for the age of man, 77 years. If we take that, then we would be right now in the 77th generation, which is interesting. The year 6000 would happen during the 77th generation if we average 77 years per generation. And remember that Lamech, not the son of Noah, I mean, not the father of Noah, but the descendant of Cain, he said that if Cain was punished 7 generations, he would be punished 77 generations. Then Peter asked Mashiach, if he should forgive his brother 7 times? And Mashiach said, I tell you, even 77. So Mashiach was pretty much telling us that the sin of Cain and Lamech would be purified from the earth at the 77th generation, which could happen right now because what I just mentioned. So 70 generations. And this is amazing because I think this confirms what I'm just saying, and I just figured it out, thankfully, to the Almighty. Because, and I'm going to show you this, I think it's better. If we go to Jude or Yehudah, the book right before the book of Revelation, Yehudah from verse 14. And Hanoch, the 7th from Adam, the 7th from Adam. So he was from the 7th generation. And we are reading in the book of Hanoch that they would be trapped for 70 generations. So 7 generations of the person who wrote the book, plus 70, that would take us to the 77th generation, which is the one I was mentioning, I believe is the one in which we are. And the one that would happen during the one in which the apocalypse, the last 7 years would happen. So, and Hanoch, the 7th from Adam, also prophesied of these. When did he prophesy? In the book of Hanoch. Why isn't the book of Hanoch in the scriptures? Because they're afraid of the knowledge within it, amongst other things. So we see once again, not only Peter, but Yehudah mentioning things from the book of Hanoch. And Hanoch, the 7th from Adam, also prophesied of these, saying, see, Yahweh comes with his myriads of set apart ones. We will see that later on, to execute judgment on all, to punish all who were wicked among them concerning all their wicked works, which they have committed in a wicked way, and concerning all the harsh words which the wicked sinners have spoken against them. These are grumblers, complainers, who walk according to their own lusts, and their mouth speaks proudly, admiring faces of others for the sake of gain. But you, beloved ones, remember the words spoken before by the emissaries of our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach, because they told you that there would be mockers in the last time who would walk according to their own wicked lusts, which we are seeing a lot nowadays. These are the ones who cause divisions, not having the spirit. But you, beloved ones, building yourselves up on your most set apart belief, praying in the set apart ruach. Keep yourselves in the love of Yahweh, looking for the compassion of our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach unto everlasting life, and show compassion toward some who are doubting, but others save with fear, snatching them out of the fire, hating even the garment defiled by their flesh. And I'm gonna leave it there. The point was that he was the 7th. So if he was the 7th from Adam, and he's being told through his book that they would be, the angels would be trapped for 70 generations, then that would mean that they would come out at the 77th generation. And if we divide 6,000 by 77, we get 77 point some numbers, which means the 77th generation at the year 6,000, if the average was 77 years per generation. So to Mikael, likewise, Yahweh said, go and announce to Shemechasa and to the others who are with him, who have been associated with women and who polluted themselves with them in their impurity, that their sons shall be slain and they shall see the perdition of their beloved. Bind them for 70 generations. So till the 77th. Underneath the earth. Underneath the earth. That shows where hell is. But we can see that also in scriptures. In the the 6th chapter of Revelation, during the 5th seal, we see that paradise is under Mount Zion, where the temple was, and therefore the altar was. And I say that because if you read it, it's going to say that the souls that were under the altar, so it doesn't mean that the souls are inside the altar. That means that under the altar, under the earth, is where paradise is, where the martyrs are. Bind them for 70 generations underneath the earth, even to the great day, even to the great day. So bind them till the day of Yahweh comes. And when is the day of Yahweh? Well, soon, the millennium, the 1,000 years. So he's saying trap them till the end of this history, but not the end of the millennium. Underneath the earth, even to the great day of their judgment. Even till the great day of their judgment. Then shall they be taken away into the lowest depths of the fire in torments, and in confinement shall they be shut up for the age. Verse 17, since the comment that was there was regarding his estimation till the year 7,000. Verse 17, all who are condemned from then onward shall perish, and they shall be bound with them until the destruction of their stock. All who are condemned from then onward shall perish, and they shall be bound with them until the destruction of their stock. Immediately after this, in the time of the judgment, which I shall judge, he, referring to Shemachasa, shall together with them burn and perish for all the generations, which is the second death after judgment. Destroy all the spirits of the bastards and the offspring of the watchers, for they have made mankind work evil. For they have made mankind work evil. Let every oppressor perish from the face of the earth. Let every evil work be destroyed. Let the plant of righteousness, referring to Mashiach and referring to the congregation believing in Mashiach, let the plant of righteousness and of rectitude appear, and its produce become a blessing. So I repeat that verse because it is very important. Let the plant of righteousness and of rectitude appear, and its produce become a blessing. The chosen few. And the works of the righteous and erect shall be forever planted with delight. The works of the righteous, pretty much the Sadiq and the Yashar, righteous and erect, or I'm forgetting the other translation, but in Hebrew, Sadiq and Yashar, referring to the first and the last. And the works of the Sadiq and the Yashar shall be forever planted with delight. And during this time shall all the set apart ones escape. This is amazing, and it is beautiful because it is confirming what we were saying, but it kind of goes against the comment that he wrote, the translator. Because the chosen few will escape during the end times, during the seventh trumpet, which happens at the half of the last 7 years. So it's saying that during this time, when they will be allowed to come out, during this time shall all the pure ones escape. So that is the seventh trumpet, when the chosen few will escape death. And during this time shall all the pure ones escape. In fact, the fact that it mentioned the angels first and now the freedom or the redemption of the chosen few is chronologically correct according to the book of Revelation. For Abaddon will come out on the fifth trumpet. Then there will be another army, because the fifth trumpet will be an army that will torture people for 5 months. The sixth trumpet is an army that will kill a third of humanity. And then comes the seventh trumpet, which is when the chosen few will escape. So look how it is chronologically perfect. And during this time shall all the pure ones escape and live until they have procreated thousands. What we were saying regarding how the chosen few will be able to multiply, even though having different bodies than now, even though they won't be given in marriage as now. And also this connects with the 1,000 years. During those 1,000 years, Yahweh will allow us to multiply and live until they have procreated thousands. And look, the comment says, yes, there is reproduction during the millennial reign of Yahushua. So I agree with this comment, of course, is what I was just saying. The interesting thing is that previously he said that they will be released at the year 7,000, but this happens at the year 6,000. So how can he say that it is the same time? However, thankfully to the Most High, it does fit with what we have been explaining, understanding. So I continue. And during this time shall all the pure ones escape and live until they have procreated thousands, while the entire period of their youth and their Shabbat shall be completed in Shalom. Their Shabbat, the true Shabbat, which is the 1,000 years that were represented by the 24-hour Shabbat of every week. That's why we live in the Shabbat already by having Mashiach in our heart. So while the entire period of their youth and their Shabbat shall be completed in Shalom. So the 1,000 years, which is the Shabbat, will be completed in Shalom. In those days, all the earth shall be cultivated in righteousness. It shall be entirely planted with trees and filled with benediction, with goodness. Every tree of the earth that they desire shall be planted in it. Interesting, because now it is forbidden to plant certain trees. Every tree of the earth that they desire shall be planted in it. And they shall plant vines in it. And the vine that shall be planted in it shall yield fruit to satiety, to satiate pretty much each one of them. And each one of them shall produce 1,000 jars of wine. And every seed which shall be sown in it shall produce for 1 measure 1,000. And 1 measure of olives shall produce 10 presses of oil. And what's interesting is that this prophecy was being given in a time when food was all over the place. There was, well, let me correct that, because we just read how the Nephilim had destroyed that. So the Nephilim pretty much ate everything. But before the Nephilim ate everything, food was easy to come by. There was no hunger back in the day. What they would produce in one harvest would last for 40 years, according to Judaism, at least. So this prophecy means that it will be, during the 1,000 years, will be better than what it was in the days of Noah and before that. So, and you cleanse the earth from all oppression. And you cleanse the earth from all oppression, from all violence, from all error, from all irreverence. Look, because here he was talking now to the Malach Michael, ever since verse 15. And look what he's saying to Michael. And you cleanse the earth from all the oppression, from all violence, from all error. That's why Michael has to come to the earth to bring the true peace to the world, as promised by the prophets. And he's come to destroy all error by bringing the truth, by bringing the light. So cleanse the earth from all oppression, from all violence, from all error, from all irreverence, and from all the evil that is committed upon it, and make them disappear from the earth. Obviously, this is something that he did back in the day, but my point is that it could be seen as prophecy when he would come at the end of times, and through the doctrine of Yahushua HaMashiach fulfill this. Then shall all the sons of Adam become righteous. Then shall all the sons of Adam become righteous, because then the resurrection will happen, and the many who were in the apostasy, in rebellion, will finally be purified and therefore righteous. Then shall all the children of Adam become righteous, and all nations shall adore me. Here confirms what we see in Isaiah and also in the book of Revelation, that there will be nations even then. And all nations shall adore me, for now they adore vanity, they adore falsehood, they adore Satan's. and nations shall adore me, shall direct themselves in prayer to me and praise me. For now they praise God, which is fortune, which is Satan, according to scriptures. Isaiah 65:11. Verse 27. And the earth shall be clean from all corruption, from every from every error, from all punishment. Thankfully, and the earth shall be clean from all corruption, from every error. So there won't be any error anymore. This world will be perfect. From all punishment, we won't have to be punished anymore, thankfully. And from all suffering, which is like when you know how it is written that during childhood, the child and the slave in a house are the same pretty much in authority. The child is like a slave, pretty much is the point. But when the child reaches adulthood, he becomes the owner of everything, even of the slave, because he inherits all things from his father. So just like a child and a slave, which is a representation of how nowadays those who are of the enemy and those who are of Yahweh may look the same, and even those of Satan may seem to have more success or power in this world. Also, how the angels and the humans in a way are similar as creations, but then the human will become a child of Yahweh, and when he reaches adulthood, which is pretty much during the transformation, then he won't need any punishment, because you punish your children, but once they are adults, you don't punish them anymore, for they know what they are doing, and now they must face their consequences if they do something against what they were told or taught during childhood. So it's interesting, there won't be any punishment. And obviously, it means that we won't do anything bad to deserve punishment. But the reason why is because we will now have knowledge of all things, mainly Yahweh, how to act, what to do, how to do it, how not to do it. All of that will be completely clear. And therefore, we won't do anything wrong to deserve punishment. So, and the earth shall be clean from all corruption, from every error, from all punishment, and from all suffering. And I will not again send plagues upon the earth from generation to generation, nor for all the ages. So here is something that Yahweh also promises through the prophets, that he will not get angry ever again, ever again. So that means no destruction, no plagues, no pain, no punishment, no tears, no affliction, no tribulation. And in those days, I will open the treasures of blessing which are in heaven, in order that I may cause them to descend upon earth and upon all the works and labor of men. For instance, the new Jerusalem that will come down to the earth after the 1,000 years, after the Shabbat. And the shalom and the truth shall associate with the sons of Adam, the shalom and the truth, the last and the first. Like I said, the last will bring peace. Peace is shalom. So, and the shalom of the last and the truth of the first shall associate with the sons of Adam all the days of the world, in every age of it. So that shows how even after everything is perfect, after we have entered eternity, there will be ages, which means different stages. Meaning we will grow, we will receive more and more eternally, and nothing will be bad ever. For the only reality in which evil would exist is this one, the first one. Thankfully, once evil is done, then everything will be good and have to do with growth for us. So that's how the chapter ends.